have, Mike? Mike, give us a sense of what you are seeing. We were hearing just in the last few minutes celebrations, but also chants for President Yoon to be locked up.
That's right. You know, we're a couple meters away from the National Assembly, and you can hear those chants of locking him up, for him to step down, that are echoing across the corridors, like right now, near the National Assembly. So just to give you a sense of the tableau, right behind me, you can see it clearly if you read Korean, impeach and remove Yoon Suk Yeol is what's said on the bottom banner. And all of these people here are not going anywhere until they hear from the president about what is going to happen next and, frankly, what he was thinking. There is just such a palpable mood of people being stunned across South Korea of why he did this and what was his possible exit strategy, why he thought that, you know, this could possibly succeed. So we're seeing people, we're expecting demonstrations to grow and grow as the sun comes up through the morning hours. I should note, though, how we got here. You know, Paula may have said this. Forgive me, Paula, forever if you talked about this, just tuning in through our earpiece. We have a very weak president, Yoon Suk Yeol, conservative politician, longtime prosecutor, and, you know, approval ratings that have been hovering in the low 20% range. And weekend after weekend, there have been calls and demonstrations emanating throughout Seoul for him to step down. Scandal after scandal roiling his administration. So the thinking among people who we're talking to who inhabit this quarter of the city, Yeouido, where the National Assembly is found, is, did he do this to potentially quash dissent? Did he do this because he was and is so weak, now weaker beyond imagination, to try to go into a new position of strength? Completely unclear, but I think that, you know, in addition, as we look back at the crowd again, to those feelings of being so stunned and dismayed, there is absolutely a sense of anger, a sense that we have been here before in the 80s and earlier, ever since the Korean War, you know, military rule back and forth, that they are not going back, that the people of this nation do not ever want to go back to a time where military rule was the law of the land, or where martial law was the law of the land. So we will be waiting to see how the president responds if he goes on TV, how many days he has left in his term, because his days certainly seem to be numbered.
As a new day then sets on South Korea, it's almost 5 o'clock in the morning there, Mike. I mean, speak to that main question that you have been, I'm guessing you've been hearing from many of those protesting, is why did he call this? Why did he declare martial law? Did those you've spoken to on the ground, what did they make of some of the arguments that he was making? You know, the anti-state forces, North Korean threats. What are people telling you?
We can say, objectively speaking, people are befuddled. People are certainly befuddled at the arguments that President Yoon Suk Yeol was making in his speech. They were very vague. There was no specific elements of pro-North Korea forces in the government trying to subvert the government or incite rebellion. There were no specific marks of evidence, people have said, who we've run into throughout the evening hours, of anti-state forces trying to incite rebellion. People say that it's crazy who we've talked to over the past 6 hours. So I think shock, again, is too light a word to describe how people are feeling. What was he thinking are how people are feeling? And that certainly is being expressed over loudspeakers. And one wonders how much longer President Yoon can stay in power when so many people are wondering, why did you take us down this route? If, very briefly.
And we haven't, of course, we haven't heard from him in something like 6 hours. Have you heard anything, Mike, as whether he will address the country, whether he will explain his actions here?
We haven't heard that, but that is the hope. People are so angry, they want to hear why he would do such a thing. But no concrete developments on if and when he will address the nation again.
Mike Valerio there for us. Appreciate, Mike, very early hours for many there in Seoul. Still large protests.